Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Isaac here. Today's episode 13 of All Things Podcast, and I just saw The Batman. Well, I saw it a few days ago, and I'm doing this review today just to give everybody the chance to see it. The Batman 2022, directed by Matt Reeves, starring Robert Pattinson as the Batman and Bruce Wayne, and just wow. I want to give you my raw review. Now, I am going to get into spoilers, so if you haven't seen it and you care about all these crazy plot points and blah 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 blah, and you don't want to get any of the spoilers, then get on out of here. But I must start off by saying, the first 5 minutes into the film, I was already so excited and was on the edge of my seat. This Batman was the darkest Batman ever. It was just so sick, man. I was sitting there and I had this vision, man, of maybe this Batman would be the best Batman movie ever. And bloody oath it was. It did not disappoint. Now, I think for me, some of the best elements of this film were the detective elements. They were just really cool. Batman notices things that the police doesn't. He can decipher these riddles pretty easily. He can see clues that they cannot. He's constantly, putting things together. It's just really epic. There is so much to appreciate about this film. The clues Matt Reeves hid throughout the film, to set up the mystery. It was all... I just loved it. So let's get into my raw review. So the film opens with the title, The Batman, filling the whole screen, kind of like the way the 2019 Joker film did. This film seems like a lot to stuff into just one movie, but I guess the Batman does clock in at a hefty 3 hours, so it has the time. When the story and the action revved up, it felt like one of the Bat's grappling hooks pierced me and yanked me back so hard that I didn't have time to complain. The last hour of the film, so 2 hours into the film, it makes all that build up worth it, with a few big, beautifully, brilliantly composed action sequences. This movie's grounded take-ups the stakes in the fight scenes, and when Batman throws or takes a hit, it hurts. Plus, the cityscape in which it all takes place is darkly gorgeous. If you've seen pretty much any of the Batman posters, you should know the look you're in for, which constantly bathes Gotham in a palette of black and red. Cinematographer Greg Fraser's smart contrast of saturation and darkness keeps it from being repetitive, instead keeping us gripped in a Gotham that mirrors other major US cities in many ways, but is still entirely its own. Michael Giacchino's sweeping, dramatic score brings it all together, creating a few epic moments worthy of one of the comic book's most famous characters. Okay, so now let's actually get into my thoughts of The Batman. I want to start off by saying, just wow. This Batman was amazing and so dark, which I loved. This movie really explores Batman in a very different way. Pattinson does a phenomenal job at the Caped Crusader, so much so that when you look at Batman, you also see Bruce Wayne and his inner suffering and darkness lurking within him. If this film only had Batman interacting with the characters throughout, I wouldn't mind, because Batman in this film also represents Bruce Wayne. Now, this leads to my only small problem with the film. They do have a few scenes of Bruce Wayne without the suit interacting with Alfred, and the scenes were effective and powerful. I loved them. I just wish there were a few more scenes between them two. Everything else in this film is perfecto. The characters are true to what they are supposed to be like. All the actors, which include Robert Pattinson, Zoe Kravitz, Jeffrey Wright, Andy Serkis, Colin Farrell, Paul Dano, do an excellent job at helmeting these iconic characters. The story is very well thought out and carefully planned and crafted. The villain Riddler, which I loved, is tragic and understandable, smart, cunning, and overall an effective character, and I had zero problems with him. He was a badass character. He was sick, man. He was badass, bro. The action is expertly designed, very well shot and directed. This is by far the best looking Batman movie ever. I love the Nolan films. Don't get me wrong, The Dark Knight is one of my favorite movies and favorite superhero films, but the cinematography by Greg Fraser is just perfect and gorgeous. This is probably the best looking comic book films I've ever seen. Now, Michael Giacchino had a very difficult task ahead of him. The character of Batman has been blessed with beautiful scores over the years. From the iconic score by Danny Elfman to the underrated score in the animated series, the legacy is hard to live up to, but I am happy to say that Michael Giacchino has composed a flawless score for this film, which itself was enough to put me on the edge of my seat. This is the best Batman score since the Dark Knight trilogy. At the end of this movie, Bruce learns a lesson, and it was beautiful. The arc he has as Batman is unique and amazing. This film actually explores deep into one aspect of Batman that no other films have addressed, and that is that he is the world's greatest detective. That is what made this film so unique and fresh. The fact that this is truly a mysterious movie. Overall, you can probably see that I am very happy. I honestly am at this place with Batman right now, and I can't wait for the future. This is both my favorite Batman, DC, and comic book movie since The Dark Knight. The Batman is an incredible experience. If it weren't for that problem, this movie would be a masterpiece. But as it stands, this film gets a very strong 9.5 out of 10 from me. Matt Reeves is truly one of the best filmmakers working today. He showed promise from the start with the film's trailers. The movie lives up to my hype, at least, and I had a blast. The story is straight up murder mystery thriller where Batman and Gordon are set on a hunt by the Riddler, which reveals the deep, dark secrets of Gotham elites, including Batman's own past. Finally, I would like to say, in a world where most of the comic book movies now seem like painting a countryside you have seen 1,000 times being sold in Walmart, here is a movie that is something that is hung on the entrance of a downtown museum brought to life by Picasso. And well, in short. Thank you, Matt Reeves. Everything I just said, dedicated to you, Matt Reeves. In short, thank you, Matt Reeves. You're a legend. You're the next for our generation's films. And if there's a sequel, will be. There has to be. I hope there is. I hope you do it. You probably will. You done a phenomenal job in this one, and I just want to say thank you for bringing the fans what they wanted. Now that my review is said, let's get into some of the Easter eggs I noticed and things you may have not noticed. So let's start at the beginning of the film. So firstly, the opening scene is of the Riddler watching the mayor and his family on Halloween night, getting ready to kill him and start his grand plan to take over Carmine Falcon and all the corrupt people in positions of power who are working for him. That includes the mayor, Gil Colson, the direct attorney, Pete Savage, the Gotham City Police Commissioner, and Bruce Wayne, who is the last surviving member of the Wayne family. The Riddler was going after Thomas Wayne, but because Bruce Wayne was the last one in the family that was alive, he went after Bruce. The whole reason why he went after Thomas Wayne is because he blames Thomas for creating circumstances that allowed all these corrupt, powerful people to continue prospecting for the past 20 years because Thomas Wayne created the well-intentioned but flawed billion-dollar Gotham City Renewal Fund, and that's why he writes, "Renewal is a lie." The Riddler's real name is Edward Nashton, which is from the comics. So now that you have an idea of who he is and the start of the film, let's get into something I am so excited to talk about, the Batman ending. Now, the ending probably left you with a few questions, because it left me with many different questions. First though, let's get into the Batman finale itself. Throughout the Batman, Riddler leads Batman and Lieutenant Gordon on a cat and mouse chase to uncover Gotham's darkest secrets and untangle a web of lies. The biggest conspiracy revolves around a phrase, "You are el rata alada." Batman translates it to rat with wings, and it all centers on someone from Gotham's underworld who has been feeding the GCPD info. Gotham Police Department. Batman and Gordon interrogate Penguin, who reveals a terrible slip-up in their investigation. "You are el rata alada" is incorrect. The first 3 syllables are actually referring to URL and leads Batman to a website that proves further clues. The rat with wings we find out later is Falcon in a shadow with Catwoman at his club. He reveals that he killed Catwoman's mother, as well as her friend Anika. She goes to shoot Falcon, misses, and eventually is stopped by Batman. Batman takes Falcon out and hands him over to GCPD, but he is shot and killed by the Riddler in the street. Paul Dano's villain is apprehended in a nearby coffee shop and secretly outlines his master plan to Batman while imprisoned. The tip-off leads him back to Riddler's hideout. With the help of Gotham's finest, he discovers a map of the underneath the floorboards, revealing his final message. Riddler has planned 7 bombs around Gotham's seawall, which explode and flood the city. Riddler also releases one final video to provoke his squad of fans on social media to rise up. This impacts a manorial speech at Gotham Square Garden by new executive Bella Real. There, a gang of Riddler's attackers at Floodwater rushes in. Bella Real is shot, but not killed, and Batman eventually takes down the Riddler armor. He then leads out to the Gotham Square Garden, survives from the wreckage of the attack. In a post-attack scene, Riddler is approached by an unnamed prisoner who says the pair should be friends. Now remember what I just said for later. Okay, remember. Catwoman later pleads with Batman to leave Gordon behind so the two can team up. He refuses and the two are seen driving off, and their bikes in a different direction during the final scene. Now, remember how just before I told you to remember what I just said? If you forgot, this is what I said. Riddler is approached by an unnamed prisoner who says the pair should be friends. That is, drumroll please, the epic best villain in all of cinema. The Joker! At least, we all think and hope. Although labelled as unseen inmate in the credits, that's most definitely the Joker, who is played by Barry Keoghan. The Irish actor is perhaps best known to comic book movie fans for his recent role as Druig in Eternals. He's also appeared in The Green Knight and Dunkirk. It sure looks like the Joker and Riddler are going to team up and try and escape from prison. Common logic would dictate that the Riddler and Joker might fight Batman together in a sequel, though that could always be put on ice. The likes of Mr. Freeze and the Court of Owls have been proposed as villains by director Matt Reeves and star Robert Pattinson. It could also be a quick way to set up a semi-recent comic book arc titled The War of Jokes and Riddles, which that's a sick name, which sees the two supervillains face off in a dispute over who should be the one to kill Batman. After the credits roll, you may have been expected a proper The Batman post-credit scene. Unfortunately, there's no such luck, with director Matt Reeves deciding instead to not have the usual tag. There is, though, a final goodbye from the Riddler, as those words appear on the screen. Then, as they dissipate, a website address appears. If you visit the website, which is rataalada.com, you'll encounter a message from the Riddler. Now, there have been 2 variants of the website. The first prompted user to answer 3 riddles by putting in the answers, which was mask, renewal, and confession, along with the final password, which was promise. You unlock a mini-movie, the campaign video for Bruce Wayne's father, Thomas Wayne, with a few notes from the Riddler. The word hush are painted over Thomas Wayne's face. This could be a reference to the comics in which Hush is Bruce Wayne's childhood best friend. Following the Batman's release in cinemas, the website changed. The Riddler no longer prompts you to answer any questions on the website. Instead, some matrix code shows up on screen, quickly disappearing, and then a hyperlink to another page shows up. On the page, titled, "It's Not Over Yet," there's an image that needs interpreting. Now, I am going to leave it at that. We will just have to wait and see what happens next. Supposedly, there is talk of a Penguin spin-off before the sequel, and people are saying it's going to be rated R18. As I'm only 15, I don't turn 18 until 3 years. So if it comes out within 3 years, or like 2, If there is one, it'll probably come out in 2 years, and I won't be able to see it. If it comes out in like 3 years, I might just be able to see it. 4 years, I'm all good, but I don't reckon it's gonna be that long. So if there is a Penguin spin-off, that would be sick, but I'd have to wait for it to come on DVD or something like that. But yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. Overall, I just enjoyed watching the film and cannot wait till what's next. Anyway, guys, I hope you all enjoyed. Let us know what you thought by messaging us on one of our socials. Anyway, my name is Isaac. This is All Things Podcast, episode 13, my review and breakdown of the Batman 2022. Thanks, everybody, and see you next episode.